So, hello and good afternoon. It's Alan McIlroy here from Berthon International from the sunny Marina Sant'Andrea, which is in the north end of the Adriatic, just slightly east of Venice. Now, today we're going to be looking over the Solaris 72-deck house PLUM. This is a Doug Peterson design and the yacht was constructed in 2002. Now, I'm only going to touch on the history of this particular boat because there's a lot more to be gained by looking at the boat's blog and the links below for those of you interested in high latitude and long distance blue water sailing and would like to know a little bit more about the history of the boat. I would urge you to have a look at the links on the screen below. So she's a centre cockpit 72-foot blue water cruiser, as you can see. Teak-led decks, white GRP hull and superstructure. Top sides are repainted in 2016 and the decks were refurbed at that time also. I'm just standing on the aft deck here. You can see there was a couple of large lazarettes there. The sailing cockpit is separate from the guest cockpit, if you like. So you've got the helm, the navigation instruments, and all of the sailing controls are led back to that aft cockpit. The sheets, main sheet, check stays and so on. And those are powered with hydraulic winches, the controls of which you can see both port and starboard and the aft end of the cockpit here. Quick peek at the binnacle there. She sports both Garmin plotters and Garmin instrumentation. The plotters, again, I think hail from about 2016 as well. So let's take a wander forward. What strikes you immediately stepping on the deck of PLUM is the detail and the quality of finish at throughout the deck. The saloon window surrounds all in stainless. The tow rail there, if you can see the detail of that again, is all in stainless and in beautiful condition. The cars, deck gear, all custom stainless. So detail of the mast and mast foot, that's a white painted Sparcraft mast and Park Avenue boom. Conventional slab reefing on the main, and with it being a roughy-tufty offshore expedition boat, everything is handled at the mast, although you do have hydraulic outhaul, backstays and vang there as well. Again, just catching a detail. Look at the condition of that tow rail. It's absolutely it's a thing of beauty. Large, spacious foredeck. Plenty of hatches to the cabins beneath, flooding in lots of light and ventilation. Cutter-headed rig, both of which are on Reckman furlers, as you can see, and beefed up on the deck cleats and so on as well. Large 2,500 watt windlass there with both rope and gypsy capstan, and I think she's on about 120 meters of 14mm chain. Very stout construction, double bow rollers, of course, as you would expect. There's a nice little detail there of the fair leads let into the beautiful stainless tow rail. Again, just a detail on the Reckman furling, both on the Yankee and staysail. Looking aft there, those stainless uprights you can see are actually davits, or a cradle for carrying a substantial rib and outboard. As I say, she was designed for serious exploration. In fact, the yacht was commissioned for 5-year circumnavigation, which took in both the poles and not least of which was her passage from west to east through the Northwest Passage. As you can see, all the lines running. You've 3 winches either side of the mast there, which controls halyards, reefs, and some of those winches are powered as well, of course. Tracks for the staysail on the coach roof, which is nice, and then tracks on the outside, on the side deck, there for the Genoa or Yankee, depending on how she's rigged. Large, ample deck house windows there with, again, stainless frames, and there's a letting light flood into the raised deck saloon stroke pilot house. So give it a nice little bird's eye view there of the off-watch or guest cockpit, which is huge, I have to say. And also a bit of a bird's eye there of the aft sort of sailing and helming cockpit. Lots of space, very clean, uncluttered. There's even a recess there for the bimini frame to drop down into. And a large cockpit table. So let's take a little step below decks and have a look around. So below decks, in summary, the yacht consists of 6 cabins, which will sleep up to 12, believe it or not. You've got the deck saloon, galley, 4 heads compartments, and a separate workshop as well. And again, she is a raised deck saloon in the respect that the seating is raised, which of course then means all of your machinery is housed centrally and below the saloon, which does have separate access through the workshop, which is aft on the starboard side of the yacht. But again, overhead hatches and those large deck saloon windows letting light flood in. Really good sized, well appointed forward facing nav station as well. A Faruna radar there, which again I believe dates back from 2017, so quite a reasonably young piece of kit. Access to your switch panels there just behind the nav seat as well. A nice little bit of marquetry there on the saloon table. The cabinetry throughout, I have to say, is beautiful. She's finished in teak with a teak tongue and groove cabin sole. Walking forward and having just a glance down that companionway is beautiful. It gives a feeling of a much larger vessel. So we have a self-contained galley off to port, which is really well stocked, ample stowage, twin sinks, large stainless stove, and you've got a fridge, freezer, and 2 refrigerated vegetable drawers as well. So it is a really well stocked and self-contained galley. Fridge and deep freeze below, and then as I say there are further 2 drawer vegetable refrigerators also. So stepping across the companionway to starboard, we have a first of the twin cabins again, which is en suite. She's very much a boat built for going places, it has to be said, and going places with lots of friends and family. Moving forward, we have cabins on both port and starboard. Here on starboard we have a twin with a single berth and then a PLUM above as well, which can be folded up out of the way. Or alternatively, if I can ease the catch, drop down to form a twin cabin. Again, both cabins sport lots of stowage, hanging and drawers. Each cabin is en suite. With a well-appointed ensuite. A little bit of Korean, largely teak in finish with Korean work surfaces. All the overhead hatches, by the way, are fitted with both blackout and mozzie screens. Now we step forward here into the shower cubicle, which services both port and starboard cabins. And then forward of that we're into the forepeak, which is yet another berth. Again, you can see a bit of it's a semi-watertight bulkhead door there. A detail of the hydraulic retractable bow thruster. And you have a small berth over to the starboard hand side, but it is a cabin, I suspect, that would be given over more to stowage as much as anything else. So going aft then on port through the port side cabins en suite. Particularly useful cabin. Again, you've got a single on top with a double below, and again ample stowage, as you can see. And then moving aft through the companionway back into the main deck saloon area. The offset double entrance is quite useful in a way because it creates a companionway then going aft. And as we drop down here, we have the nice little handhold above as you step down the companionway as well. It's a very, very practically thought through boat, it has to be said. So here we have the workshop on the starboard hand side. The vessel's fitted with both a compressor with outlets in this on the aft deck and forward for obviously compressed air tools. But she's also fitted with a small dive compressor as well. One of the two distribution panels. There's a further distribution panel. This is 220 volt. Obviously there's a 12 and 24 behind the nav station. And then this is a half door into the engine bay. Again, like much of the yacht, the engine itself, the Volvo, it's about 300 horse. That had a bit of a birthday, 2015-16 also, with new injectors, water pumps and so on. So that's in fair order. And this compartment houses both, not only the engine, but the generator, compressors and so on. And that's all housed centrally below the deck saloon. Again, a well insulated compartment. Now, aft we have a centerline bulkhead which is splitting the aft end of the yacht into two double cabins. So on starboard, it's a large double with a little desk and stowage above and outboard. And then on port, again an offset double, but a little bit more of an island double on port, a little bit more access down the outside of outboard of the berth. And then on a port side we have one heads which is en suite to the port cabin, and there's a door from the companionway for the starboard cabin. Again, beautifully appointed, finished antique and Korean work surfaces, large separate shower stall there as well. As I say, I won't have a time during this video to do full justice to the depth of inventory on the boat, so I would certainly encourage you to have a look through the full particulars for the yacht. And also, just in terms of the history of the boat as well, it is well worth having a little look at the blogs. Currently laid up ashore under the care of the yacht services in Marina Sant'Andrea, but with a little bit of a recommissioning and pit stop, she will certainly be ready to go round again. So for further information, or if you'd like to discuss the yacht in more detail, please feel free to get in touch.